Good afternoon. Welcome everybody to a new edition of our weekly webcasts, live webcasts. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. You can hear me, yeah? Yep, okay.
Yes.
Well, it's 4 p.m. here in Spain. It's a sunny day, by the way, here in the northwest of Spain. And we are ready to start one more episode of Are We Human? That is the name of the series that we chose for this business conversations. But the truth is that today we will be talking about very different things, as we usually do with our guests, because fortunately we always have very interesting guests, and today it's not an exception. When you have a person like Emily Howell, well, you can talk to her about business strategy, because she's working now as a business strategy director of strategic initiatives. I think it's the current position. But she has experience living in different countries. She has experience teaching and learning languages. And there are so many interesting things to talk about that I think it's going to be a very interesting chat. And just remember that we are very happy to count on you. So feel free to share your questions on the chat for those who are on Zoom. And much better if in the last section of the interview you interact directly with Emily. Let me say that we are very happy, very proud, because this is the first time that we are broadcasting at the same time, simultaneously, via Zoom, and also on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So wherever you are following or watching this event, let me remind you that Lingua TV is the name that we give to this service with weekly interviews that belongs or is part of our main service, which is Lingua Gym. Lingua Gym is our gym to help you train your languages. It's like a gym because somehow our method is much more active than the traditional or extremely theoretical methods. And you have the flexibility that the gyms offer when you want to train your body, choosing the time, choosing the language, the level, the type of session. So a super personalized training plan and with free trial. So just go to our website, www.synergydidactics.com. And as you will see, it's very easy to request and to start with a free trial. And one of the things that you will find for free permanently is these webcasts recorded, because we record them and they are available for you on demand. What else? Well, I think it's time to introduce you to our guest today. So let me say for the first time, and it will not be the first, Emily, thank you very much for being here. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's great to this re-encounter, because for me it's a re-encounter, because you have to know that Emily is a former teacher of our team. Unfortunately, for a very short time, because she had to leave us, but we had a great memory of her contribution to the team, and I'm very, very happy to keep in touch with her and that she has found some time to be with us today. What time is it in Denver now, Emily?
It's 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Okay. What time do you normally start work?
8 a.m. Okay. So this is not bad.
Well, so it was not a very big effort to wake up too early, but like I said, thanks for I know you're busy, so thanks for finding time. I hope you enjoy it. What's the weather like there, by the way?
It's pretty nice right now. It's a sunny day. It's going to be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit today.
Okay, great.
Which is pretty warm.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start from the beginning, if it's okay with you. I mean, if I remember well, you were born in Richmond, Virginia. Is that right?
That's right. That's good. That's a real good memory.
Yeah, okay. And then I think that the first country your first experience abroad was in Spain, or did you have a chance to live in more countries? I don't remember that.
Yeah, I traveled a lot before Spain. So I'm
Okay.
originally from Richmond, which is in Virginia. That's on the East Coast near Washington, D.C. And started traveling when I was about 18 or 19. I had gone through Central America. I went to Nicaragua, Guatemala. Um, and in Guatemala, that's where I actually met my husband, who is from Spain. And that is when we happened to meet separately on different trips in Guatemala. And he asked me to come to Spain, and the rest is history.
Well, many times we talk about the experience of living abroad as a very useful immersion when you are trying to learn a language. Actually, last week our guest was a Spanish woman living in the UK, and next week we will have another former teacher of our team that is currently living in Malaysia. So in your case, it was different. You know, the English native speaker moved abroad. I don't know if the main purpose for you was to learn Spanish or.
That was a big part of it. I was traveling to Spanish speaking countries because I had always wanted to learn Spanish. I just thought it was so important because it's the second most spoken language in the world. And to me, it was a way to experience another culture. And in the case of Spanish, there are many, many cultures that speak Spanish. But it was something that was always important to me. And I definitely needed to live in a Spanish speaking country to fully experience and be able to speak comfortably in Spanish.
Do you remember how long it took you to start feeling really fluent speaker or comfortable with the language?
Yeah, it took me about a year
Mhm.
to kind of drop the nervousness and just start to speak. I think in my head I knew a lot and I could process a lot of the language, but I was afraid to speak. And I think that's very common I mean, everyone here that's learning English, I'm sure experiences that. It's so normal. I mean, I was so nervous. And to be honest, I would go to the bar at night, and after a few beers, I would speak much better in Spanish.
Yeah.
And so that is very important. And it took me a long time. And
Sorry,
I don't know
what
if
is
a
very
year is a
important?
normal
What is very important? The beers?
to stop being nervous, to
Okay.
just say it, and you're going to say it wrong.
Yeah.
And I had many awkward conversations, but you just have to do it. And if you overcome that nervousness, that's almost harder than the language, for me.
Well, you have just summarized some of the main principles of our method, because yeah, it's so important, this barrier, that once you overcome this first obstacle, the nervousness or the embarrassment, everything is different. If we could find a way to experience this disinhibition without alcohol, without beers, it would be fantastic. So that's what we try in Lingua Gym, is like that there are more ways to feel this disinhibition. Just being yourself in your natural, context. But it's not easy. Yeah, of course, it requires practice, and an immersion helps a lot. So you had this experience of learning and starting speaking a language in an immersion. And then someday you started teaching English. What do you remember about this experience as a teacher?
Yeah. So I actually started doing classes on my own. I think I was using clases particulares, or is that what it is? Did anyone know that?
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I was helping young kids around Santiago de Compostela, where I was living at that time. And so I would go to their houses and help them do their homework. And that's where I started. And then as it continued, I ended up living in Vigo, and I found Synergy Didactic. And I felt like that was a way that I could contribute to other people learning a language because it was so important to me and it was so challenging. And so I was excited to be able to work with other people to start doing that. But I started learning. I mean, at Synergy, it was great because many of the courses were already planned. And so I was more or less facilitating a lesson that had already been created because my skills were not in creating lesson plans. But everything was prepared in a way that I could facilitate classes with kids and adults. And it was really great. It was a really fun way to connect with people.
Yeah. You had the chance to experience this process from both points of view, as the learner and as the teacher. When you started teaching, you could have the other perspective, and you saw people struggling with the same, issues. What did you do in order to help them in a class without that real immersion, to make them feel as comfortable as you could with your real immersion? Do you remember what the kind of things that worked best in your experience?
Yeah, I think, I try to be just very approachable and supportive. You never want to laugh or make anyone feel bad for a mistake. I try to speak very clearly. I think I have heard that the way that I speak English is somewhat easier to understand than some people. I've learned to speak in a way that is a little slower and a little clearer. And that confidence, if somebody says, "Oh, I could understand everything she said," then you get that confidence of, okay, if I can understand her, I can understand other people. And I do a lot of, I think it is helpful to know Spanish because I understand how people that speak Spanish try to spell things in English, because there's a very specific way of the way you understand spelling and writing in Spanish. We do it very differently in English, but you can kind of understand how someone is processing something. Like when we say there, and what's the difference between there and there? Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
There's a big difference, and it's very hard to understand the difference.
Yeah, but it's funny because when you talk to teachers, very different teachers, very different styles, in the end is like, and with the students, this coincidence that in the end there are these human factors, what really help people and make them learn faster, to feel that the teacher is an approachable person, and this encouragement and sometimes humor and naturalness as a substitute of beers, in order to create this disinhibition. It's like I said before, there are different ways, and in the end, sometimes the best teachers are not those who have, the highest, mastery in grammar, but those who are really empathetic with the situation of the students and can start helping them break that barrier. And of course, if you are creative or you can follow a creative lesson plan, like you said before, much better. Well, what else do you remember from your experience with us? What was the best? You had the chance to interact with different kinds of students. Yeah, you said before, children, adults, and professionals. Mm-hmm. What did you enjoy the most?
Yeah, absolutely the adults. But that goes for all times in my life. I prefer working with adults.
I see.
I really loved I traveled a lot to companies and would meet with the employees in their location. And I thought that was just a really amazing benefit that the companies were offering. They're saying, this is an important part of our work, and we're going to support you to gain those skills. I really loved that, and I think that's a great way for coworkers to connect and develop their skills. I loved that.
Mm-hmm. You said before that you got used to speak slower. Do you only do it with foreigners, or it became your natural way of speaking also with Americans?
Yeah, so I find that communication is really hard in any language, even if you're speaking to people that speak your same language.
Yeah.
And so I try to be very clear always. And I think, again, even when I'm speaking with native English speakers, if I may think I'm being very clear and expressing myself, there can be no confusion, and there's often still confusion. So I try to do this just all the time.
Which is a very interesting piece of advice, actually. It's interesting, our experience, when we notice that our English students start to speak in a clearer way in English, and they start to implement these tools when they speak Spanish, they also have more positive experiences in presentations, in meetings, in interviews. So yeah, communication, as you said, yeah. Well, the thing is that one day, unfortunately, you had to leave us and you had to move back to the United States. Tell us about that. How was that moment of your life, returning to your country and settling there?
Yeah. So it was a huge process just to do the immigration process for my husband Alejandro. We had been working on that paperwork for a year and a half from Spain for him to be able to become a resident in the United States. And the process is very difficult. It's very expensive, and they give you very little flexibility. So they said to us, okay, now it's approved and you need to come now. And they don't give you any choices. So we waited and waited, and then the time came. We landed in the United States. We stayed with my family for about a month while we just adjusted and spent some important time with my family. And then we decided to move to Denver, Colorado, which is very far from Virginia. If driving, I think it's 28 hours. So it's very far. And but we love this part of the country. It's very sunny, it's very dry, and Denver is a growing city. So there's a lot of opportunity professionally. And that's how I was able to start my career.
And that is why you moved to Denver, because you were aiming an interesting professional career there.
Yes, Richmond and Virginia, it's just a smaller area. Think Santiago versus Madrid. And so it was, there just wasn't as much professional opportunity for me there. And especially that my husband and I are both Spanish speakers. There's more of a Spanish speaking community in Colorado, as it's closer to Mexico. And so that was more of a valuable quality in our careers to be able to speak Spanish as well.
Mm-hmm. And one day you found this opportunity and you joined your current company, Pieces for People. Can you tell us something about it? What is the main, mission or service that your company offers?
Yeah. So one of my passions has been working with, in the United States, we call them nonprofit organizations. We'll call them ONGs, which, anyway, I don't know what it stands for, but we call them nonprofit organizations. And so that means we are working for a social benefit for some cause and for some group of people. And so I started working when we moved to Denver in different nonprofits. I worked in education and I worked in food access. And just recently, actually, I just started working at Pieces for People, which is a nonprofit that provides low-cost technology and technology recycling services and digital literacy, so digital education for folks in Denver and really across the United States, because we have seven locations in different states. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really awesome mission, and part of it is partnering with corporations when they are finished with their technology and it's no longer of use to them, they can have us clean the data, wipe the data, refurbish that device, and then provide that at low cost to families who may need it. So we work a lot with schools, we work a lot with housing associations, and then just anyone that comes into our store and wants to get internet or computers. So we also work on providing low-cost internet to folks. And that is my main project right now. So one of our strategic initiatives is to build our own internet network that is affordable. And this is a pretty big endeavor. And that's why we call it a strategic initiative. It's something that is new, but we see a future for it. And it could be a really important program for the organization, but we're just getting started. So we've built a few networks. It's called fixed wireless. Essentially, it's the same as when you drive around and you see internet towers, but ours are very small and they do small range. So we're providing that service at $15 per month. And we're building the networks, and we're working in collaboration with city and government groups to access fiber networks and literally build internet. So it's something I'm really excited about, something I'm learning about, and it's a very exciting thing to work on.
What about the speed? Is it reliable, this new network that you are building? The first experiences are being positive?
Yes. So, it's definitely, as when you do anything new, there's the pilot phase and the testing phase and the, kind of repairing and changing. So we've already done a lot of that kind of learning, and now we're more comfortable to move forward and build these networks in different locations. But the speed is about, if anyone is familiar with this, it's a 50 meg download and a 10 meg upload. Okay. Broadband is a 25 meg download and a 3 meg upload. So Great. These are things that I'm learning about that may not mean anything to other people here.
Okay. Well, so you help the companies because those old equipments or those old devices, there's something useful that they can do with them, and then that's your job, to this recycling process to facilitate that other people with fewer resources can have quality access to them, and that is low cost technologies. It sounds great. Sounds something really sustainable as well. But let's focus on this initiative, this project, because it's basically the main topic of this chat today, which is when you create something basically from scratch, something new. And when you do that, of course, you don't get the results from day to night. You have to be patient because it's a long process. And then, your strategy is kind of mid-long-term plan in a world that goes so fast, and where we are so impatient to see results, and the market is constantly demanding results. So how do you cope with that? How do you combine this stress that the market generates with a project like this, where that you have to water the seeds and wait, and to be constantly, I guess that readjusting the plan? Tell us about that, please.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly right. It's there's pressure to move fast, and then there's also pressure to do things correctly. I'm very much a structured person who wants to follow a plan, and I want it to go the way that I thought it's going to go. And I'll tell you, it almost never happens that way. And I have learned to be very flexible and do as much planning as possible, but also understand that things are going to evolve. And a good friend of mine always said, you have to make a plan so that you can change the plan. And I think that's important of having, you have an idea of what you want to do, and then you have to be ready to adapt and shift different pieces as you go. And that mindset is really important. If you're just stuck to the plan, and if the plan doesn't work, then it's a failure. You are very likely going to fail in that case, because the plan will almost never go exactly the way we think. And that's okay.
Many people, I think that they could say, it's like, if I have to be constantly changing the plan because of so many factors, and I have to adapt and I have to be so flexible, then why do I need the plan? Why can I just be improvising and reacting on the run? So do you really see an important difference between having the plan or not?
Absolutely. I mean, I think planning is essential. And I think part of that is just for the team's comfort. When you're a leader of a team, they need to be confident and they need to understand where you want to go. And I always set the expectation that this is the plan and the plan will change and we will adapt. But it's important for a team to understand that there's a vision and that there's leadership. If a team starts to feel like they're not sure of how everything fits together and where we're going and how we're going to do it, that can cause anxiety in the team. And so I think it's important for the team's morale to have a plan. I think it's also just important to have an idea of what you want to do. And there may be many ways to get to the end result. I think about teaching a lot, actually, because in teaching, in English, we talk about backwards planning. So you start at the goal. All right, we want to meet this goal, and then you go backwards. What would it look like if we were successful? What would it look like, if we did it in this timeline? What is plan B? And so really going backwards from the goal is a super helpful practice and is really helpful in managing timelines and taking a project from start to finish.
Yeah. Very wise words, let me say, because honestly, it's common sense, but important to keep in mind, because like you said before, living with this pressure always at work, I would say even for personal projects as well. It makes you feel that you have to be constantly improvising, and then you start like forgetting about the importance of planning, especially in terms of the impact that it has for the team. Because I understand that you coordinate people, you have your, have people under your responsibility.
Yes, right now I'm working on a team of about 5 people, and I would love for that team to be about 10 people.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So it sounds like really difficult to get the same levels of motivation and enthusiasm from your team if they don't see clearly where you are leading them. And at the same time, sounds like the first rule or the first point that you want them to believe in is that be ready for the change. Is that we are going there, but be ready for the change. Is that right?
Absolutely. I think the one of the second points that I wanted to talk about was clear expectations. And that can mean expectations for your team on timelines, on their responsibilities, or on the fact that maybe I don't have all the answers. And I like to say that very clearly to people as well. So the expectation is that we're going to figure this out together. And that it helps people just understand how the dynamic may work. And it's when you're doing something new, especially, it is very important to talk about, all right, we're doing something new. When you are building something new, it's very hard. It's also very rewarding. And so you have to balance those things. And especially when you're hiring people and bringing them onto the team, it's really important that they understand what type of project it is, what type of team it is, what the important characteristics are of flexibility, resilience, and just a belief in what we're doing. As a nonprofit organization, everything we do has a very important, deep impact. And that is what helps us with our motivation to do things that have never been done before, or that we may wish we had more resources to do. But we understand that it's important, and it's going to make a difference in many people's lives. And so we can push through any challenges. But those expectations are really important. And I think I personally don't believe in painting a picture of, oh, everything is going to be perfect and easy, and this is going to be just butterflies every day. That's not my style. I prefer to be very realistic of, you know what, it's going to be hard and it's going to be rewarding, and we're going to do it together. And I think that helps people know where we're going.
But I think that this is what you really prefer as a team member, that to receive this message. It's like, I think everybody prefers is realistic and clear, sometimes perhaps hard, but in the end, more reliable and gives you more confidence than a too beautiful message, difficult to believe and difficult to feel disappointed with sooner or later. Actually, I was going to ask you about your previous experiences when you were not a director. You had the experience, I guess, of being an employee reporting to somebody. Does anything come to your mind when you think of those experiences and how different that was when you had clear the business plan and when you didn't?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had, varying experiences in different organizations, and I've had experiences of supervisors who were very organized, and it was very clear what they wanted me to do and how they wanted me to do it. And in those cases, there was often not very much flexibility in how I did it. I needed to do it their way, and it needed to be exactly how they described. And so there's good and challenging things to that. It's really helpful to know exactly what you want, so I can do that. I can do exactly that. And then I've had experiences where there's a lot of flexibility. Okay, I need you to meet this goal, but I'm not interested in how you get there. You can do it any way you want. And so I think as an earlier employee, and I was first starting out, it was helpful to have really clear direction and really, really clear guidance on how to complete a project. And then as I've gotten more experienced, I definitely appreciate the flexibility to say, okay, we know you have the skills to do this. We're gonna let you manage it. And it's like you said, it's more at that director level than you have that liberty and freedom to get to the end goal in the way that you see best.
Now the kind of project that you are involved is something really new, so it's a perfect example of a process where you have to be patient, and of course it's impossible literally to see results in a short term. But for those who are listening to this conversation and they are involved in different projects, they are constantly dealing with these two voices, like, do it the best you can, or do it fast, or follow a plan, or just improvise. With the things that you have learned from your experience, would you give any tips, any advice about how to implement this system of work that you have in every little or big project that we are trying to follow?
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, I'm on the very structured side of the spectrum. I really like a plan. And so often people that are in leadership in different businesses are very visionary. And they say, this is where we're going to go. And then I come and I say, okay, if that's where you want to go, these are all the things we need to do. And that's great, but these are all the things we need. And I think that balance is important, to have a really visionary person and then a very realistic person. And you have to find a middle ground, because we can't be only visionary and we can't be only based in reality, because we would never have incredible innovative advances. And so I think having a balance of personalities and of styles on a team is very important, and making sure that you have diversity in a lot of ways. We want diversity of gender, we want diversity, racial diversity, but also diversity in your working style and the way that your brain works. I've taken a lot of time over the past couple of years to learn about me and how I operate. And that has helped me a lot, to know my role in a team, and to be a complement to my supervisor or to other folks on the team.
Well, Emily, I think that your teammates are very lucky to have you as a director, because I'm really sure that they are they are fortunate, because having a person with this mentality, with this mindset, with this style, really not only is more beneficial to a project, to a company, to an organization, but actually to your professional development, your individual development as a professional. And I guess that you, in your previous experiences, you have felt that you progressed faster as a professional when you were in one of those environments, like more structured and more defined, but not too rigid. It's like you said before, this balance. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yep, that's right.
Emily, since we are running out of time, let me ask you about something that is, of course, always important. About, because we are going through a pandemic, and we were wondering about how you have been living this, and you are still living it. Sorry. Are you working from home? How remote is your work? How has it been for you this period of time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So it's different. So I've my new role at PCs for People. I've only been with the organization for 2 months. So I am working at home right now. I actually just started working at home with this role. And so for the main part of the pandemic, I was actually working in person. I was going to our location every day because we were doing food access. So we were busier than we have ever been. We were really launching new programs to get out more food to folks. It was one of the busiest times I've ever seen, and it was really scary. We were, wearing masks, of course, and we would have scary situations where someone had a contact with someone who had COVID, or they had it themselves, and we would go through periods of disinfecting things all the time. It was very hard, I'm sure, as it has been for everyone in different ways. There were beautiful things during that time, and there were also just real challenges. And I was fortunate. I received the vaccine in very early, actually in early April. And so
which one?
That is one of I received the vaccine in early April.
But which one? Which vaccine? Yes.
Oh, which one did I get? Moderna.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so that is one thing that is a little different in the United States, is we had a very hard time through the pandemic of getting things together, but the vaccine rollout was very fast. And so we are returning more or less to not having masks and to being more out in public. but of course, still very vigilant, and who knows what is to come. But hopefully, we've made it past the worst.
Of course, yeah, I understand perfectly. Time for questions from the audience. Yep, as usual, this is our favorite part. We have enjoyed a fantastic chat with Emily, and we could be talking for much longer for sure. But yeah, everything comes to an end, but not without your questions. So for those who are on Zoom, is the only chat that I can say. It would be easier for me to pay attention to more chats at the same time, sorry. So of course, those who are following on different networks, you can send your questions and we will be happy to share them with Emily, and I'm sure that Emily will find some time to answer those emails. But yeah, let me see, there are some questions that we can ask Emily right now. Anybody? Well, while people are thinking their questions, Emily, how was it? How was your experience on Lingua TV?
I think this is awesome. I think this is my first. Yeah, this is great. I hope my internet connection was okay. That's the only thing I need.
Yeah, only some few seconds of delay sometimes, but it was good. No worries.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, this is my first experience. I don't get to talk to groups like this that often, so it's been very exciting.
Did you see it as a useful tool to to extend the time to be in touch with the language?
I mean, it's great for me. I hope it's useful for the participants.
Yeah, I mean, from the point of view of the students, to have the chance to join these events weekly and to listen to different people, different professionals.
I think absolutely. I think for me, in terms of language, listening to different accents is so important. I work now here with a lot of Spanish speakers from Venezuela, and that took me a very long time to start fully understanding. So exposure to different accents, I think, is really important.
Okay. Well, I see a question. Lorena wants to know if you had any kind of training in management, because you have become a director, a manager, and I guess that she wants to know if it was just by your experience, or do you have any specific training to make you feel more prepared for that experience?
I didn't have much training.
The everyday training,
I think,
in the office.
Yeah, I had some great mentors and leaders, and I think I learned a lot by trial and error. And I've been doing this, working in nonprofits since we came back to the US, and so that's been almost 6 years. And so I think I'm just very passionate about what I do, and I work really hard, and I think having the drive combined with just the organizational way that my brain works has helped. And I'm one of those people that kind of just gets involved in everything, whether that's good or bad. I just get involved in everything that's going on, and then I just get more. I've gotten more responsibilities over time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have not had any formal training, which has its benefits and its drawbacks.
Yeah, of course. But it says good things about you, that the professionals that without the training reach those positions and are able to do a good job. I think it's representative of some natural talent and capability to learn fast. Vicente has a question. I am wondering if he would be happy to ask the question directly by himself. Yep.
Hello,
Vicente, thank you. What is your question?
Thank you. I want to ask our guest about the tax, because these companies who gave that type of devices to that companies without profile, that companies have some kind of discount or deduction in the tax or something like that. any
Like
any
fiscal
anything to
benefits.
yeah anything to improve to give the companies that product that things to that
Yeah,
companies. Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
So thank you. Yeah, so there are a few different ways we do that. Generally, with a nonprofit organization, any donation of either services or financial resources or of goods could be tax deductible. And in the model with PCs for People, it's a little bit different because normally a corporation or a government entity, they have to pay someone to take their old technology. It's not a free service. You have to pay someone to clean the data, and you have to pay someone to sustainably recycle, properly recycle that material. So what we do is we offer the same service, but we offer that service for free. And so they're saving money by not having to contract and pay someone for that service. They're still getting a very high quality service, and they know that those devices are going back to their community. So it's a little bit different in this case, but generally, yes, there are tax benefits to supporting nonprofits in that way.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Vicente. Thank you, Emily. Anything else? Well, I was wondering, Emily, about your main source of income. I mean, do you have any kind of grants or any kind of help, public help to carry out these projects?
Absolutely. So it's a combination. Our model is very different. Often nonprofits are very heavily funded by grants, and that can be challenging because a grant can go away. Maybe you don't receive it that year. That can be very hard. At PCs for People, we have a two-piece model where we do sell our technology for low cost. $100 or less, you can get a device. So the families are contributing to that product in a way that is hopefully affordable to them. And if that is not affordable, we will work with them to make sure they can have access to those devices. But so we do have revenue from selling our devices. That helps us continue to operate the program. That makes it a more sustainable model. So because we generate our own revenue to be able to operate and to be able to offer these services. We do also need grants and need government support to be able to offer our programming. So we have both of those as part of our model.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Very clear answer. If I don't see any more questions from our audience, I think we should be closing. Let me ask you one more. You were talking about, well, like your company is involved in two major projects, which is the mission itself of providing low-cost technology to everybody, and this new network. And I guess that is quite local for now. We're focusing on Denver and your area, but I guess that you have this ambition of being, this expansion. I was wondering if I don't know, how open the organization itself it is to have some kind of partners where the idea could be developed in different, not only territories of the States, but even in different countries. I don't know. Do you see this kind of partnership where different actors could be involved?
Absolutely. And so we're working on a project right now, actually not in Denver, in another state. And we're working with Microsoft, we're working with the city, we're working with the libraries, the police stations and fire stations. We're working with other nonprofits in the area. So, I mean, there's a group of probably 10 organizations that are coming together to work on this project. I think especially when you're going to do anything at low cost, you have to have partners because this stuff is very expensive. And so partnering with folks that have resources such as a building, fiber access, all of those things, financial support from groups like Microsoft. It's the only way that these projects can happen, and it's super important.
Well, so if somebody is listening to us and open to participate somehow in this beautiful project, you can find Emily's profile on LinkedIn. And that's all for now. I think that we should be closing. Yeah, you have already shared an important amount of time with us, Emily, today. So let me say again, once more, thank you very much. I think it has been an extremely interesting conversation, very useful from many different points of view. And well, I can only say that I hope that we don't need an important number of years to meet again, and we can, I think you should be back to Lingua Gym soon with a different kind of content or interview. I will try at least.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah, I'm here. I would love to. And yeah, like David said, anyone, especially network engineers, if you all are network engineers, I'm definitely needing support in that. But yeah, would love to answer any questions anyone has through email or through LinkedIn, and would love to be back at any point. I'll just say, you all keep pushing with your English. You can do it. It's very hard, but it is possible, and I know you all can do it. So stick with it, and thank you so much for having me. It's been just so wonderful to reconnect with you, David, and just to see all of your faces here. So thank you so much for having me.
Very beautiful message to close this, inspiring words to close this chat. And I always say this, one of the powers of Lingua Gym is the community that we have, and this network and the opportunities that you can find when you make the most and you take advantage of this network that we have, as this human network, of people and professionals that help each other to feel stronger with the language, but also to find interesting development of their careers, something that we really need, because we really need to be extremely creative these days. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Special congratulations to the people that interact with their questions. That's also a challenge for you, so also passed. And just let me remind you that next Thursday at the same time, 4 p.m. in Spain, we have a new guest. Remember that I told you, Alejandra, that is living in Malaysia, has been living in Malaysia for some years. So as you can imagine, it's going to be also very interesting to know how she got there, why, how is she coping with the situation, living and working in a different country and speaking different languages. So, and if not, remember that we will be here on Lingua Gym to help you train your languages every day, and with any device. If you need low-cost technology, contact Emily. And that's all. Have a really good evening, and hope to see you soon. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.